These 8 steps are how anyone can become an entrepreneur. I got roasted on my last video because I said street vendors are also entrepreneurs. In this video, we will not only look at the step-by-step guide of becoming one, but also understand what you are trying to become in the first place. Aaron Cross is an amazing entrepreneur, but this woman selling clothes in the street could also be one. We will look at the definitions, ask street vendors if they consider themselves entrepreneurs, and once and for all, define the word entrepreneur. What are these 8 steps and how can you start becoming one today? The best entrepreneurs follow these steps and this video will walk you through them all. Let's start with a quick Google search. An entrepreneur is a person who organizes and operates a business, taking risks. Okay, nice. Harvard seems to agree. An entrepreneur is someone that pursues opportunities beyond the resources control. Most are likely to be persistent, curious, and adaptable. How about AI? Entrepreneurs are business creators and managers that tend to be innovators, creative, resilient, and visionaries that provide new ideas or services. Now let's ask humans. Eric Ries, the writer of the Lean Startup, says that they are people that create new products or services under extreme uncertainty. One might argue that street vendors could also be entrepreneurs. They operate a tiny business. They own it, they take risks, they come up with new ideas of selling things, and sometimes even new products. They are resilient, persistent, and creative. At least that's what I thought when I was editing my last video. Before being roasted by one viewer that had a pretty interesting argument. He said, "Do you even know the definition of entrepreneurship, bro? They are self-employed individuals. Buying and selling is self-employment and not a business." Okay, we could argue about that. Let's see what else did he say. Oh yeah, buying and selling is not setting up a business. You are not developing or creating anything, not a business model, that's for sure. This chain of comments are what inspired this video, and I thank you Salmon Kurowasan for bringing these ideas to light. I needed to check if I even knew the definition of entrepreneur, because how could I make a video about how to become one if I don't even know what is an entrepreneur? But let's go and ask the people in question. What do they think? How do they define an entrepreneur? And if they consider themselves one? Good morning, sir. What is your name? Francisco. I have a very important question for you. What do you think is an entrepreneur? What do I think about entrepreneurship? I think entrepreneurship is easy to explain. Wake up early, work every day, sleep late, spend less than what you make, and you will be a great entrepreneur and a successful person, no matter the situation or profession. That's a great answer. Do you consider yourself an entrepreneur? Yeah, I do. Thank you for your time. No, thank you as well. Francisco is a Brazilian entrepreneur that started his small business with less than $10. And now he's the definition of a successful entrepreneur. Arguments in favor of street vendors falling into the definition of entrepreneur are that they are risk takers. Check. They innovate by creating new products or services. Check. And some use basic business management like using fintech solutions for payments, social media marketing, and more. Arguments against would be that the scale of street vendors results in selling the same thing and not truly innovating. Even if they wanted to innovate, they have no means for doing it. They don't have a formal business structure, and most importantly, most are not in the position of deeply analyzing their business because they are selling day to day in order to survive. The size of the entrepreneurial activity will be different from a street vendor and a tech entrepreneur. But the underlying spirit of both is the same. Both are entrepreneurs. The former might be smaller, less equipped, and simpler, but both share the same traits. So what is an entrepreneur? This word comes from the French word that means to undertake or to do something. My final definition is someone that sees something that could be done differently in business and that is proactive enough to do something about it. People like this would also happen to be creative, risk takers, persistent, and all the traits we have seen. Now that we have a definition, we can start looking at those 8 steps. Step number 1, find a profitable business idea. This is the heart of entrepreneurship. What pain, need, or want are you going to solve? Remember that you are solving someone else's problem. The idea must be cool for them, not for you. If you don't follow this step, you will be like the 35% of new businesses that fail because they develop irrelevant products. Step number 2, develop your MVP, the minimum viable product. This is the simplest version of your value proposition. It's not the best, but it provides the basic features you want to sell. For example, if you want to create a website for buying and selling old books, create the simplest version that embodies what you want to solve. Why? Because of step 3, validate your product with feedback loops. You need to iterate the solution as fast as possible. You must improve your idea to the market expectations. If you invested 10 months to create the best website for you and the market said, "Nah, I don't really like it," congrats. You just wasted 10 months of work. On the other hand, if you create an MVP, it will provide the flexibility to test the payment system, the color palette, the user interface, the user experience of the website, and thus the end product will be a better fit because it has direct feedback from the consumer. Step number 4, write a business model and a business plan. Only now you can worry about the structure, the money, logistics, and partners. If the market has a need and you created a fit for that, now think about the way you will reach the consumer, the suppliers, the channels, the pricing, and cost structure. Look at all the different aspects of the business model and create a plan. Remember to validate every section of the business model with the consumer. Step 4.5. You shouldn't only focus on becoming rich. You must have an MTP, a massive transformative purpose. This concept comes from the Exponential Organization book. It mentions that you need a big vision that embodies the transformation you want in the world. Using the same example, we want to change the book industry by being the library of 100 million online audiobooks. It has to be big enough so you don't limit your growth from an underrated perception of yourself. Now that you have a validated product, purpose, business model, and business plan, you will likely not have enough capital to fulfill the MTP. So, step 5. It's time to raise capital. When you have everything validated and a market demand eagerly waiting for your solution, investors will not hesitate to offer you their money. Pro tip, remember the goal is the NTP and not the money. So do not fall into the serious disease which has infected the startup industry. Many startups go after the next series and the next series, series A, B, C, D of funding, only to sustain an unsustainable business idea. Step 6. Launch the business with adjustments made possible with the new capital. Make it formal and make it legal. Step number 7. Start using business management. Many startups fall into the temptation of thinking they are still small and don't need any old school business wisdom. They are completely wrong. If you want to become great, do not reinvent the wheel and take advantage of business management. Learn it or hire someone that is great at managing businesses. Step 8. Fulfill your MTP. If you follow these steps, assemble a great team, and have a little bit of luck, you will end up fulfilling your initial purpose. Final step for those that stayed up until the end. Go back and repeat all the steps at all times. You must revisit every detail of the idea to make it better and better. All of these steps are crucial for entrepreneurs. But there is one step most of them neglect. This negligence explains why the best entrepreneurs are not particularly rich. If you want to know which step it is, click here.